Hi, Lynn. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Melanie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very in gratitude with you to do that interview again. We won't translate in French, so it will be shorter. That was the request of the people. So thank you to take your time to share your journey today again.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what my journey has been, and to give it to others who are seeking the truth, and thank the other ones that are coming to the message as well. So, thank you. Mm-hmm.
So welcome everyone who's watching. Maybe some people are watching us for the first time. So I will present myself. So I'm Mélanie Robitaille. I live in Quebec, near Montreal in Canada. I speak French. So please don't write to me that my English is not perfect. I know. So I will do my best. Lynn will correct me if I create misunderstanding with some words. So I'm a naturopath since more than 26 years, and I'm 52 years old. I have two children, 20 and almost 16 years old. And I had the chance to discover about a little bit more than 2 years ago, Anthony William. So this is his last book. So that was the revised and expanded version of his first book. And he wrote also this book. I just want to let everyone know this book also. And there's the diary, the second one. There's the liver rescue. This one is translated in French, and this one will go out in French in France by the end of May. It is translated in French. And this was the first book. Whoops. And this is the second edition.
I remember that first book very well because I read it 7 times.
Yes.
That's a good number.
Exactly. So I'm feeling blessed to know those information. I work by those information. I'm with those information I get from Anthony William, and I got the chance to discover Lynn Foutch through Muniza Ahmed membership, where Lynn was interviewed with her journey with ALS in English we say. So as you can see, Lynn is speaking fluidly, so I will let her introduce herself. So this is an interview. Lynn is not my client. Lynn will share that she discovered the information with Anthony William, and she had a great, incredible journey. And I'm feeling blessed to know and shared. I wanted to share our journey with every one of you. So please, Lynn, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. So, well, I'm Lynn Foutch is my name, and I'm currently living in Idaho, northern Idaho. And I've moved up here to find an area where I really want to be to help the medical medium community and start growing my food. Well, I started growing food extensively last summer, but now I really want to grow at a higher level from here on out. So that's been my journey up here, and just trying to feel where I'm going to be. And we came together through Maniza's group or whatever, and because of my journey with I don't even want to say diagnosis anymore, because I actually listened to a podcast that I had downloaded on my computer, and my computer kept telling me I needed to get rid of some files in order to get space. And I found this one recording of Anthony. It was under an hour, and it was from it said Heal 2018, and it was all about chronic mystery disease and how it can affect you and whatnot. But I now know as I listened to it, and this was like last week, that I knew that I saved it because he had talked about ALS and MS on there, as well as I think it was autism. Yes, it was autism. But what I found interesting about that is that he said that ALS is encephalitis, which is inflammation of the brain, and we know that it's being created by the viruses, and that there are high levels of copper and mercury in the brain as well. So, and then it went into MS and whatnot. He says if you go to an MS doctor, you're going to get diagnosed with MS. And if you go to an ALS doctor, you're going to get diagnosed with ALS. And I can attest to that. That is very truthful, because when I was, okay, let's go back to when this all started. It actually started in utero, but I just didn't know all the stages from the time that I came out of the womb until the time I was, in the 40s. I'm now 57, but while I was training for the Olympic trials, I didn't, by the time 2007 came along, my body had been sustaining so much viral loads and metals and toxins and pollutants that created me to fall. So I kind of lost the train of thought where I was going with that, but
you said that you were training for the Olympics, and the sickness started when you were in utero.
Right. Those were when the symptoms, maybe I should back up because people don't understand about all the stages that one can go through to where finally the body succumbs to where it can't function anymore. So I was, training for the Olympics around 2000 to 2007. I had my last attempt. But, people ask, well, when did you start feeling these symptoms? And I would say, well, if you look back now that I could see it, it was 2000s, in the very early stages. It took from 2000 to 2007 to actually fall. Like I had a neurological fall. I just fell on the training run out of the clear blue. And then after that, the symptoms become progressively more and more detrimental. So, I had they were signs and symptoms of MS, but then there were signs and symptoms of ALS, like the fasciculations in the gastric or the back of the calf muscles. Those are telltale signs of an ALS diagnosis. If you were in an ALS clinic, they would look at that. And then, of course, the falling and the dropping. And I always had that band around my wrist area. It always felt like there's something tight there. And that would be indicative of something. You couldn't hold something in your hand, So I resonate with that. And I knew when I was, because of my medical background, working in emergency medicine most of my life, I asked questions. I thought, like, why cancer? Why can't they find a diagnosis for cancer? Or
Yes.
Go ahead.
You have a background in medical, because maybe you can share what was your work and also your husband work, so medical background.
So all of my life, I've always loved emergency medicine. I always wanted to help people, and I didn't go into nursing or a physician, but I went into the medic side of it, where you picked up patients from the outside the hospital, brought them to the hospital. But then I also worked in the hospital as I was going to school in trauma, mostly emergency medicine. And then my husband, I met him there while we were working together, and he's been an emergency physician for 39 years now. So, and so I'm well versed in medicine. I know what's going on in it. I walked away from it 27 years ago, thank heavens, because I now know the truth through what I've learned through MedicalMedium and healing my own symptoms indicative of ALS, MS, okay? Could be both, because they really don't know. And that's why when people ask me, well, what stage were you in? I'm not going there, because there's so much going on in the body. I don't know your background. I don't want to focus on that diagnosis. So you could be in a stage where you're in bed and you can't talk. Does that mean that you can't heal? Absolutely not. I know that you can once you go to the cause. Now I know the cause. Mm-hmm. And I can tell people what that is. And if they make that 100% commitment to do it, their chances of healing are pretty darn great. Mm. Because ALS is a fancy word for the lateral sclerosis, and it really isn't. It's about metals and viruses. So if you take the viruses out and you take the metals out and all the pollutants, your nerves will heal and your symptoms will now go away. And you're back to, well, it's going to take a little bit, but you're back to, a pretty decent life. I'm not in bed. I'm just getting better.
Yes. So. As you said, you were describing your symptoms when I interrupt you to share your background, so that you know a lot about the science and how it works with that area. So you were saying you had like blockages, with your wrist, with your legs. So
and I remember saying to my mom, I wanted to always pull on the left side of my head. Like I felt like there was something in my head. I mean, I could actually probably feel the virus. I don't know what it was, but I would I would pull on my ear And it'd be just like, and that was for like the first 3 years. It was horrible. And the weakness was just unbelievable. But I'm a warrior. I just wouldn't give up. And so when I finally went in and got, the one test done, and I lived in Colorado at the time in the mountains. And I just looked at my husband and said, I need to move out of here and get out of this altitude. I knew the environment was really hard on my body. At least, well, I knew what it was, but I thought that, and I'm glad I did move out because I moved to the West Coast and where I could recover at a lower altitude, only to discover the truth. It took 7 years to find Anthony. And I tried everything. I even did my own IV therapy nutrition course with a physician group up in Seattle. And so, because I would open up these books, I read textbooks. I bought $300, $500 textbooks on the methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase gene expression, all that stuff. And by the way, I've thrown all that out in the dump. I can't even give that information out to people because I know, but I was submerged in the mineral and supplement world. And I'm glad I was. And then I was able to do some of these things. I actually did my own IV. Well, they were IV pushes with just vitamin C, magnesium, and B6, those 3. I didn't do the Myers cocktail, but I remember feeling so good getting those things into my body. And then, of course, I had thousands and thousands of dollars traveling over to Australia, talking to naturopathic doctors on mineral cell salts. I got into that. And this was one that was lactose free and had the physical component, but nothing. And yeah, I had ebb and flowing throughout the 7 years, but I was slowly deteriorating at the end. And that's when my Olympic coach who was training me, Lorraine out in Boulder, Colorado, said, you might want to look at Anthony Williams, the MedicalMedium. And at that point, I just threw my hands up in the air and I went, oh, I might as well, but he had a lottery at the time of 10,000 people. And,
Can you explain that? Because you said he had a lottery because there was so much people that was
there were
waiting.
over 10,000 people waiting to talk with him. And so he did a lottery system where I don't know how he did it, but within 2 weeks' time, I was called. And I found that to be divine intervention. It really was. So when he told me what it was, the 3 viruses that are actually indicative of creating the symptoms of ALS, that's when, well, I didn't know that until his books were written, but he was telling me, the 3, the HHV6, the EBV, and the shingle. And I remember saying to him, but I don't have a rash. And he says, well, you don't have to have a rash. There's many varieties of shingle that you don't have to have a rash. And we know that now because of his books. He didn't have his books written when I first talked with him, which I'm grateful for. I wish it would have been out sooner, but I'm grateful because I was able to keep up with everything, all the podcasts coming out and whatnot. And then he had a service for practitioners that I was fortunate to be a part of and just to learn more. And I just hold him on high reverence. He's, I don't know, he's an amazing soul. We're also, it's fortunate that we have him on this earth to save so many lives.
Yes.
Yeah. Many, yes, go out to him, especially when I'm hiking on the trails and I think of Anthony and I just think, thank you. Because if it weren't for him, and from the get-go, I knew it was right. And I never turned back, and I will never turn back. And I will stay true to that man because look at where I am today. I'm healing my nerves. Yes, it's like an onion with layers being peeled. Yeah, I'm 57, all these years of the stuff that I didn't know was in my liver. Now it's all coming out. So it's like an ebbing and flowing, but it never stops me when I have the little symptoms that come up, but I know not to do with them. Yeah.
So that's amazing. So the worst symptoms you had from where you are right now. So can you just share what was the worst physical symptoms and now what you can do?
I think I would think that they were all, I didn't want any of the symptoms, but especially remember the last interview I did in 2003 or 4, I remember my husband knew this chiropractor who did like alternative medicine. And he went in to see this guy and I was just along for the ride and just kind of talked with him and whatnot. And I'd say, Dean, I'll be standing there and my leg will give out. Like my knee will just drop. And I just kind of just passing. I didn't know any of this was going to happen, you know, in 2007 from 2003. And he'd say, well, that's not right. And I'm like, well, it's probably just my running or whatever. So that was really signs of, you know, because they say people can drop things or they fall and they're clumsy and whatnot. I didn't clue into that until, you know, now that I know what it is, I was thinking back of all the symptoms. And like HHV6, I had a prolonged QT interval, and that's where your heart doesn't fire at the end of the sequence. And so my heart stopped on me in 2000. And that's when I really had this major shift in my whole consciousness, because it was a quick, you know, because my heart didn't fire. And my husband was present at the time, so he knew I was out. And I remember having that flash of, oh, I mean, like my heart stopped. And then it didn't. But that's indicative of HHV6, which is all the cardiac issues and whatnot. So you see how this works? That was in 2000. I'm surprised that I didn't have a heart attack when I was running, because I was running some major races and altitude, you name it. I mean, I put my body through a lot of harsh conditions. So it's miraculous how the body keeps you alive and wants to keep you alive and is fighting for you, you know? And that's another thing. When I was working in medicine, I couldn't understand how the body could attack itself. Well, I said that understand word. I don't say understand, I comprehend. Remember, we talked about that with Maniza. Yes. Well, it makes a difference. So I couldn't comprehend why, you know, the body attacked itself, or, you know, the gene thing. I mean, I would open up books and I couldn't read this stuff. I'm like, how can they even think that genes are faulty? I don't comprehend this. So I always ask questions, you know?
Yes, so. Exactly. So your knees, your heart, your wrist were affected, and the head, and so those were the symptoms, and you had to that's for sure, you couldn't function physically as you are right now.
Absolutely not. And I ran for over 30 years. I wouldn't run for anything now. That was my life though. But now I know that it's being created by the heavy metals in the body, the adrenaline. It just wants to keep you going and keep you away from who you are. I'll hike every day with my cat and dog. I'll do things. I can climb a mountain, but it's at my pace, and it's very, very calming. And I always have food in my body every 30 minutes to an hour and a half, 2 hours. 2 hours that's it. I don't go past that. That is key to this healing journey. Keeping that fuel in your body. I mean, think about babies. They eat every 30 minutes. They're feeding their cells that glucose and the critical clean carbohydrates.
Yes.
That's what I do. That's why I have this next to my side, because I know the healing is more powerful when you keep all the mineral salts and the glucose in your body. Absolutely.
I do remember that in the first interview we did, where we tried with the translation, you were saying that the main thing for you in that great journey was to eat, so not to drive, not to be driven by adrenaline. So in order not to go with adrenaline, this is why you eat at the beginning at each half an hour, and then it was 45 minutes or 1 hour, and now, as you say, not more than 2 hours. And this is why I had my coconut water also.
So adrenaline, it fuels the viruses too. And it's going to kick in if it detects that you're starving, because it wants to keep you alive, and it keeps you alive. And then it's like this vicious circle. And then when it feeds the viruses, it spews out that toxin. And now you have more aging. It's just, it's a disaster. And we need to have our adrenals strong at times when we really need it as well. And yes. Another thing, when you feed those adrenals, when you have stressful things come to you, it's like peanuts compared to if you didn't have anything in your body. Remember Anthony's analogy with the squirrels? Yes. When the one squirrel goes across the road and gets hit, and the other one's watching it, and it immediately goes to the blood to drink it because it knows that it's been traumatized and it needs that glucose, right? So think about that. You know, I look back at the days of emergency medicine. I go, how did I do it? I mean, we didn't eat for 16, 20 hours sometimes. Maybe some water if you had time to drink it. That's buildup of what happened to me in 2007. Now I know why I crashed. My liver said no more.
Yes. Yes, because as we can read in Anthony William books or in his podcast and all of the information he shared, we need to take care of our adrenal as gold, as you said in Fort Knox, like the very, very important. That this is what I share with people, that with clients, that you need to put a timer sometimes on your phone to make you remember to not run on adrenaline, but to have a little bit of a good sugar, as you said, the CCC, critical clean carbohydrate, because it's difficult to heal while we are running on adrenaline. Whatever, if it's the weight or whatever is whatever that is our own journey that we want to do. So adrenaline is a block to that. So that's the main thing. You said that it's the number one thing that helps you with your
right. And stopping I don't do any salt. I don't do fat. We know why. We've been told, okay, maybe we'll call it lies. I could think of a better word, but it has been misinformation. Okay. Our bodies don't thrive off of fat. And I knew that I really did know that all my life. I thought, fat is fat. Okay. I didn't know everything I know now. I mean, it decreases the oxygen in your bloodstream. The viruses hide in it, right? And then, the blood glucose, the cells won't open up to receive the glucose, so that the insulin has to be kicked out, right? Because there's too much blood in the glucose in the bloodstream. And then now you've got type 2 diabetes, all of it. So I've had to throw out everything that I thought I knew on many levels, not just this level, but on a lot of stuff. So, now I know the truth. Now I know what to do. And I attempt to get people to see, like, for instance, like Anthony's already talking about ALS. So I'm hearing him talk about it more. I have a feeling we're going to see more and more. And I don't like that word diagnosis, because it's like a death sentence. And even cancer, because we know what cancer is now, right? I know what cancer is. I mean, I could tell you the stages, but we're here for the ALS journey here. But now we know, and so we don't have to go to that diagnosis, because they really don't know. We know the truth now. We know how to heal it. But I know I've already gotten a couple more people, young women, that have been diagnosed with ALS. And now I know why. And I tell them, you're going to have to make a critical decision. This is life-saving. And I'm going to say this for the record. This is the only way to heal. It is.
You've tried everything.
I tried everything. I even bought a $2,000 thing I had on my head, and it did the chiropractor would program the things in for electrical stimulation. Oh gosh, the money, the time. I mean, everyone's been there. Well, many people have in this journey with MedicalMedium and the community. But I look back now and go, wow. I mean, I never did the ozone therapy, but I bought an ozone machine where I could make ozone, and so I could rinse my mouth out with it. I did that, but the dollars and nothing would touch it. This touches it right here. And of course, I take the supplements 3 times a day, but I am very strict at what I do. I eat 5 pounds of potatoes every single day. I can't do that now because I'm healing. Or, I just feel better, so I don't need that much. But I would eat 10 bananas. I would eat 5 pounds of potatoes. I eat potatoes every day, but not as many. But I need to get that into my liver to store, especially for the glucose for a rainy day when if we can't get it. So a little insight there. You want to get those clean critical carbohydrates for storage in the liver, because the liver. I just heard this that Anthony said, or I read it somewhere in his books, that the liver has it's a genetic component to it, that it says that it knows at times of like starvation, so it will support you at those times. So I really am focusing on a lot of those foods to store.
Yes.
And I ate salt galore. I can't even stand salt now. It's amazing how different I am with the salt. So,
yes.
I can pick up the liver and whatnot. Little bits is okay, because sometimes these recipes has a little salt in there, and that's okay. A tiny bit. If people can't not have it. But over time, when you get the critical mineral salts in you and the glucose, you're not going to crave all that stuff. So.
Exactly. When I feel that by giving so much greens to my body, so much fruits, bananas, and all of that, I don't have craving as I used to have for donuts and for chips and for things like that, which I was craving, but my cells were craving for those foods. And now that I'm giving them those foods, it's amazing how it transformed.
And the viruses are now leaving the body. And when you get the cravings, the viruses have cravings. So they're craving you to crave that food and telling you, I need that food, I need that food.
Yes, it's
you don't need, because they want to keep the pathogens alive that creates all the tissue damage and all that other stuff. So no, I don't. I just talk to the virus and say, you're rearing your ugly head. Well, guess what? You're going to be leaving now. And if I have an upset or something comes up, if I have a tear, I say, okay, adrenaline or adrenals, I'm okay with this. I can handle this. You don't need to kick out to keep me alive. It's very minimal, but I mean, I'm talking to this virus. And I do tell it, you're rearing, like if I have I'll have a quick vertigo of some sort. It only lasts a second. But I'll go, you're just passing through that vagus nerve and you're just dying, right? So I make it, I have fun with it, you know? And I don't have the symptoms, it doesn't bring me down. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
That's what Anthony says, there's an emotional component to the viruses.
Exactly. And I love the way you explain it. I read it in English because I want to have I don't want to have a translation. I want to have the main book, like the first the way you write it in English. And as he said, the virus don't want to die. They want to keep to stay alive. And here in 2022, we heard a lot about viruses since 2 years, and everyone says it. Every scientific person says the viruses don't want to die. They want to stay alive. And as he's written in his books, you know, they send chemical things when they sense that they're going to die, not to die. It's exactly what you're saying. It's I love the explanation. I love the way he explain and he write things. It's so easy to understand, so accessible.
Out of my journey, and you know, I hope that I would like to incorporate this in this interview, because I think it's important, because people are out there and they're skeptical. They don't know where to turn. They're looking at, well, how could this be? I mean, the medical community really knows what they're doing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, and I came into Anthony's work while he was starting to write the books and get the podcasts out and whatnot. So I would listen to him over and over again, to get this ingrained in my head. And I would present on it every month. I would take a topic locally and when I lived in Oregon. And so I would do PowerPoints. Of course, this is probably the most critical PowerPoint that I have here. And it's all about, I get people to see, okay, if you're questioning my journey, that this could heal, I mean, it could take care of the symptoms of ALS or MS or cancer or whatnot, then let me just give you a little background here. And I could do it in the top of my head because I had listened to him so much and I took all of the information. And I said, if you look at every book out there since pre-1890, you aren't going to find any of the stuff that's going on today. And I've had doctors and some nurses in my presentations, and they'd kind of be skeptical. And I said, hey, I was medicine. I'm standing here today talking to you because of MedicalMedium. And I know if you look in the medical books, pre-1890, you're not going to find it. It wasn't until, and you can see that they're experimenting with why are they patenting viruses? So in 1890, that's when Anthony said they started to experiment with the virus, right? Mm-hmm. So then there's 4 stages to the virus. And I want to say this because then you'll see where my journey is. So by 1912? So people somehow just got infiltrated with the virus after they did their experimentation. You know, remember the two things that changed the virus was arsenic and lead. Mm-hmm. And that was the game changer for this virus to become lethal. And then they got infiltrated in people. Well, that was the second stage. You had glandular fever, scarlet fever, mononucleosis, you name it. Those were the signs of the second stage. So then the third stage was the thyroid. So by 1912, people were getting the goiters, and they were coming into, and that's when Dr. Hashimoto says, oh, it's thyroiditis. Well, what's creating the thyroiditis? It's the 3rd stage Epstein-Barr virus. So it still proliferates, right? Because now we're up to 60 varieties of Epstein-Barr today. So all through the time of by 1912 to the 1940s and 50s, what do you think happened? It was actually going into the 4th stage. And that's when we saw the birth of the hormone movement. And who was the one that was diagnosed in 1941 at the age of 38 with ALS? Lou Gehrig. That was about the time of the 4th stage rearing its ugly head. And then by 1964, the two, Epstein and Barr, saw that virus in the labs, right? And I'm sure, I can't imagine the tyranny that they went through to try to get that viral information out. And then what happened in 1975? We have Lyme, Connecticut. When Anthony says there are people all over the world that had the symptoms of Lyme, or what Lyme disease is. By the way, Lyme is 4th stage Epstein-Barr, you know? And then by 1975 was Lyme, 1986 was HHV6 with the 2 virologists. Well, I'm here to say I saw a lot of people in the 80s working in emergency medicine with the cardiovascular and the kidney problems. And now we have all these fancy disease names: Parkinson, Guillain-Barré, MS, ALS, all these chronic mystery diseases that we didn't have pre-1890. And getting people to see this and to ask the questions. Our bodies are not faulty.
No.
You know who gave us life? I call him God because I know there's a God. And God didn't make us faulty. There's stuff on the planet that is hindering, and that's metals and viruses and toxins and pollutants. So I'm a stickler. I hope that helps for people to see. I know it's helped many that have come my path. That's all on this PowerPoint here. I mean, I go into a lot of other stuff, but I mean, it gets you to see it though, doesn't it?
It's amazing, as you say, to match with history information that you collect from Anthony William and that he shared in his book. I started to reading again in the 2nd edition, you know, where he talked about some dates as you relate, as you shared right now, and it's important to discover that, and as you said, not to blame ourselves as we are faulty or we are not functioning well or not thinking enough positive or not having something wrong with our genes or things like that. It's the metals and the viruses affect a lot more than I thought. Really more than I thought.
Lives about the metals. I mean, they're wreaking havoc. And I've been telling people, even be careful driving, because what Anthony just said it. People have seizures because of metals.
Yes.
I just intuited that when I first started this. I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be happening. It is. So yeah, it's quite a time to be alive. It is your God-given birthright to heal. It is. And it's whatever is going on in your body, it's because there's a pathogen or there's a pollutant. Like I said, God didn't make you faulty. God didn't do this. I had that question, not a question, but some woman that came to me that was diagnosed, and she said, how could God do that? I said, we need to stop here and I'm going to talk about this. God didn't do this. So, I mean, I could shed tears, and I have shed tears for many times, knowing how much people have suffered, including my own father. I mean, Guillain-Barré took that man down. And isn't that interesting? And he was very sick at 52, and he died 3 years ago at 79 with all the viruses that I had in my body. And I watched that man suffer, having to push morphine at the last days because of the I didn't want him to like suffocate. So, but I watched that viruses take down every single organ in his body with the diagnosis of Guillain-Barré. And they didn't even know back then in the 1980s. They had him in the hospital for a year on plasmapheresis. I know we're getting off on other subjects, but it helps though for people to see. This is why I say to people, what's your past history? That's why I can't say what stage you're in of a diagnosis with ALS or MS, because everyone's got so much different stuff happening in their ancestral stuff.
Yes.
Just basically get the viral loads down, get the heavy metals out, and keep it down to dormancy so your body, their immune system stays strong.
What would you say that was, what would you say to some people that sometimes can be discouraged that they don't have the fast enough results or all that? Because I know you were very disciplined, and you are a person disciplined. You were training for the Olympics.
Extremely disciplined. And this is a journey, and it's not. Some people may heal. Again, it comes back to what's going on with your ancestors. How much metal do you have in you? How much pollutants were they exposed to? I know what my family was exposed to and their family members. I know the lineage. I have a little bit more than some people would have in there. So you know what I mean?
Yes.
Some people heal fast. This has been 7 years, and there are things that crop up. It's like I said, the onion, the layers, but Anthony Williams, what he's giving us through spirits work is that it's allowing our body to heal at a rate where our bodies can handle it. Some of these things where you're like, do like the detoxes and they'll put your body in a tailspin and you'll be down for a long time. At least this is coming in layers where your body, like I said, can heal it. There was a post on Instagram with a doctor that follows Anthony today. I won't say a name, but she's going through, and I looked at it and I went, yep, I've been there. But you get empowered and you don't have fear because you know what it is. And you know that these are levels and layers of viral loads dying. Like I said, they don't want to die. And it's staying, it's almost like staying positive. It is. And knowing what this is about. Like Anthony said, what's the greatest gift of life? Or what is the meaning of life? I get that now. It's like staying connected to your soul and doing acts of love and kindness for others so that, because they're watching that, the angels are and everything, and you'll take that back with you. And I think on this journey, I know, it's helped me to be more compassionate and not that I was angry, but I'm a warrior and I don't like to see people lied to and harmed. That's what gets me.
Okay.
I will not do harmful things to someone who's done harm. I would rather go back to the Creator knowing that I didn't. So, and I'm going to stick true with this information. I know it works. I did bring a picture out, and I'm not a social media person. I'm pretty busy with other things too. But I don't know. I don't have a lot of photos. I don't do pictures on Instagram of my body. But I found this picture. My Olympic coach gave me this frame. By the way, she's on his protocols now because she's in her mid-60s and she's experiencing a lot of symptoms with like shingle and whatnot. So she's taking this serious and she's actually doing a lot of good stuff for her body. But she gave me this frame and it said unstoppable. It was a stop sign. And it has a picture of me. I don't know if you can see it, but can you see my arms on that?
Yes.
Can you see how thin they are?
Yes.
Okay, you guys, and I'm going to expose a bit of my body here. Okay. I'm 57 now. I was probably in my mid 30s. Can you see my muscle now?
Wow.
Look at that. All because of Anthony William. I'm serious. I mean, I do have, there's people, even guys that have looked at my muscles are like, oh my gosh. So, and I don't even work out. I do things in the garden. I do a lot of hiking, and, I do a couple moves with my postural alignment called a Goskew, but I'm unstoppable. And I know that's why I'm here on this planet at this time, because I know my mission, I know my purpose, and I'm going to help as many as I can. Not with my arms, but I'm trying to show you what a difference. Here I am, a 30-some-year-old woman, and now I'm in my 50s. How many 57-year-olds can have this much muscle mass, right?
Exactly.
And I'm not even trying. I would never step into a gym. Oh, I just see all sweat and everything. It's like, no. But, and I did back in the days. I did all that stuff, but not anymore. So.
That's good. That's good, because I just talked with, I think 2 weeks ago, with someone who wanted to put a little bit of muscle on. It's a lady and she's a great person. And I said, don't worry, eat plenty of good sources of glucose, like potatoes, fruits, and raw honey, and
Maple syrup too.
yes, maple syrup. Here we have plenty of maple syrup here.
You tried the maple cream? The maple cream?
Yes.
Buy jars of it. I go through a lot of maple cream.
I think I made an overdose yesterday night of that. It was so good. I poured it on my salad. There was a huge salad with leafy green, raw zucchini, tomatoes, and I put a little bit of maple cream, and that was very, very good. So,
as we're talking, the biggest shift that came to me with my mind, body, and spirit and everything was the heavy metal detox smoothie.
Okay.
It's so critical. No, eating every 30 minutes to no more than 2 hours, that and the heavy metal detox smoothie, because there's something about these metals. No, I know that there is, that gets into our brain and it stops us from who we really are. And
yeah.
It's been a huge factor for me, because I would be like, oh my God, I got to keep running. I got to do this. I got to do that. Now it's like, it'll get done. I'm more of who I am. And I know it's because I'm cleaning out the metals in my body. And for the first time in 7 years, I'm getting that black tongue that he talks about.
Yes.
I didn't have that for 7 years. And I think the game changer that's really pulling a lot more out of me is the Propolis Pure.
Okay.
Because all this started to happen when that came out. So I think I have a feeling I'm detoxing at a really deeper level, because I eat totally MedicalMedium. No fat, no salt, totally raw until I have my steamed potatoes at night. And I even said to a friend who's in the MedicalMedium group with you, I said, are your stools, do they smell a little different? And mine had, because since I started the Propolis Pure. So that tells me I'm detoxing at a deeper level. And now I'm seeing this tongue, because I've never had that. And he just did that, he did that video.
Yes.
Just recently. So. Yeah, and I know it's from pulling the metals deeper, because I'm not doing anything that would cause me to have more metals in my body. So pretty phenomenal. Yeah, I feel quite a shift, even more since we had the last interview. And then finding that podcast and hearing him talking about the ALS and MS and the autism and whatnot, it was really, wow, what a confirmation. So, and I now know why I put it on my computer years, because he said he was just releasing his second book when that interview came out. So it's been a while. But.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think the first book came out in 2015. And just for the record, in that first book, for everyone who's listening, he said he's written that the cause of MS is Epstein-Barr. And just recently, Harvard, I think it's by the end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022, right. Harvard just said, we found the cause of MS and it's Epstein-Barr, but he's written it in his book in 2015. So his information are worth gold. It's making a lot of difference. And this is why I use that in my practice. And this is why you use it.
You will get results if you follow it. I promise you, you will.
That's sure.
Love yourself enough to do it, because it's so worth it. And if you can, get the books, because there may be a day when you won't be able to get the books.
Yes.
So I've got that brain saver on order. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's going to come up with a lot of stuff that, like Anthony said, they're going to take a lot of that information. So.
Yeah, a lot of things. I'm so thrilled. I want to know about all of that, all of the emotion component, like anger, a lot of anger that is related with the liver and all that. And as you said about the metals, when he says that metals takes residence in our brains, like if the metals change us completely. So to know that, and as you shared also with the black tongue, I just add that also. I just finished 2 times a 369 cleanse that he shared, and I had black tongue, and I know that it's the first time it came, I was afraid, but now I know it's a good sign of cleansing the metals. So
It
And
is.
I know I have plenty because I had a lot of dental work.
So did I. I did. And I had, my teeth always in pain. I wish that I would have known this. My teeth are pretty much all gone. I mean, they're, because I didn't know. I mean, all my life, I've always had root canals and teeth pulled out and whatnot because I had such severe pain. And now I know what it is. And then, of course, I had the mercury fillings and whatnot. So, but this is my chapter in my life and I can't change it. And I'm going to keep growing with it. And I can't beat myself up over it. And I didn't do it. So if I would have known the information from even my parents, I wish they would have known that because they suffered from the same thing, the 4-stage, Epstein-Barr virus. My mom had thyroiditis. So, my dad had the Guillain-Barré. And like I said, that's why people will say, well, what stage are you in? Well, I don't know, because look at your family history. I don't know how much metal you have in your brain. I know I had a high amount. So, but it's all coming out. So here I am.
So I'm very thankful. I think we could talk for hours for a lot of things, like what looks like your typical day, but maybe if on what word would you like to finish that interview? What would be the thing that, would it be to describe a typical day of what you eat, or would it be more a word for sometimes if we feel we're skeptical, or if we feel anything that you feel?
People want to know, like we could do another interview maybe of the foods that I concentrate, and I do a lot of prepping at night so that in the morning everything goes smoothly. Bang, 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 and then I'm out the door so I can do the things that I need to do for the rest of the day. But I'm constantly prepping and you name it. So if that would help, and then seeing like the scheduling of the how much supplements I take and what I take, I measure things out again so that I have it all done. I do things in advance, like supplements, like 14 days in advance.
Okay.
16 days in advance. So that helps. So you have to open every single bottle every single day. And then measuring out the heavy metal detox smoothie powders. And I have my animals on this too. My cat and dog get the heavy metal detox smoothie. And before our call today, I was giving my dog his and spoon feeding it into him. He's a Shiba Inu, so he's an amazing dog. But I just got a little tearful thinking, and I talked to him before I do it. I said, I'm doing this to protect you and to help you live a quality life. And then I'm starting to get a little tearful because I know what's happened on this planet, but I'm helping an animal to live a quality life and not be subjected to what we are too. And think about the animal kingdom. Their paws are on the ground. They're more exposed to this, I think, because they're licking their paws and they're in the water and you name it. So I know it helps. I know it helps him. He had hip dysplasia. He's 8 years old now. That was at 1. He doesn't have hip dysplasia anymore. So what does it tell you? I think I'm pulling the metals out because that can create a lot of havoc. They have metals in your joint spaces and whatnot.
Exactly.
You know that information from Anthony.
Yes.
So,
I listened to his podcast. My dog had half of her face paralyzed last summer, and I gave her the celery juice and heavy metal detox smoothie each day. And after 1 month, she has no more. She's no more paralyzed. So it looks like Bell palsy. That's what she had. But
and these animals are getting the same thing humans are getting: the cancers, the paralysis. I mean, I saw a dog with ALS on the shores. I mean, at the beaches in Oregon, and they didn't want to hear it. I mean, I said, I can help you if you want me to tell you what you could do for your dog. And they're like, yeah, it sounds good, but they didn't want to hear it. So. And I've had a lot of that happen. And I just have to bless them and say, okay, it's okay. But our animals are. And then they're subjected to treatments too. I won't go into it, but there's a lot of treatments there. So I have to protect our animal kingdom too, as best I can.
So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart to share your journey. And thank you for taking another time to register only English version. And if anyone has any question or something like that, is there some way that they can reach you or something like that?
Absolutely. Do you want to put that on the YouTube, like in the
Yes, at the description. Yes.
Email address would be good.
I would put what on the description?
The email address?
Yes,
Maybe?
okay. So I will write down the email in the description of this YouTube. So if you want to reach Lynn, she's very generous, maybe too much generous of her time. She's giving a lot.
I care about other people and I really want them to see the truth and to heal. You know, I think we went through the stages, right? You know, what happened in the fall and then moving on. Okay, I'm going back on what we were saying. I just want to cross my T's and dot my I's and make sure that I've said everything that I really wanted to get to people. And if they want to hear more, we can talk about more.
Yes.
I'm open to that. So
yes.
yeah.
So if you have any question or comments, you can write down and I will read them. That's for sure. And I hope everyone understand got everything that we shared, that Elaine shared. And if you have any question, you can write it down to me. So bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi,
Bye.
Melanie.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.